Sorry, one second.
Okay.
Susan, just so you know, you're muted right now, but in the bottom left hand, you can. Got it. Cool. All right, go. Take it away, Leo.
So I'd like to call our meeting to order. I think it's a June meeting. Isn't it amazing? We've not been together for a while. And hopefully our next meeting, we will be together because maybe we can spread out in a room and get all of us together, hopefully by July. I'd much prefer to be together than remote. So I have a couple of housekeeping things to read first, as Laurel keeps feeding me information to read before we start. The first one is a statement says the Town of Watertown Conservation Commission will hold a meeting on June 3rd, 2020, with the meeting starting at 7 p.m. in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, GLC, Chapter 30A, Section 20, relating to 2020 COVID-19 emergency, and to avoid group congregation. This meeting will have only remote opportunities for participation with public access provided. There is an opportunity to email comments to lschwab@watertown-mass.gov prior to or during the meeting. So if anybody has comments, I think that's the way to do it. So before we go too far, I guess I got another thing to do. The first thing is a motion, and I'll read it, and maybe somebody can just say so moved. To authorize the conservation agent, Laurel Schwab, to electronically sign Watertown Conservation Commission documents on behalf of individual Conservation Commission members. The term Watertown Conservation Commission documents, as used in the preceding sentence, means only those documents that the commission voted to issue and sign at a public meeting during the COVID-19 state of emergency. So moved. And I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, we need to do a roll call for this. So Susan, are you there? Can you do a roll call? Where are you? Are you still muted?
Yes, she is.
Leo, it may be best if you do the roll call.
Okay, I'll do a roll
Yeah,
call.
I can do it. You can do it. Doesn't matter to me.
Charles.
I'm here. Aye.
Maria.
Aye.
Patrick.
Here.
Jamie.
Here. Aye.
Pauline.
Here.
Okay, and Leo, I agree. So all of us agree to that motion that Laurel can sign there's two documents tonight that we'll vote on that she can electronically sign for us.
Great.
Wow. So there's one thing I just wanted to say before we go, and it's this little thing that I wrote, and it's been kind of disturbing the last few weeks, the last few days. It's kind of, so I just want to read this and so I can say it and get over it. I would like to say that our goal as a group is to help maintain the balance of nature in Watertown. Unfortunately, our social world is not well balanced, and we should all hope that people come to a better understanding of how a balanced society would benefit us all. So I just want to say that. I think we all view that we're not in a good time right now. So whether it's COVID or it's some other things that are going on. So
Thank you, Leo.
I hate to bring political stuff to a meeting, but I just it's something we all got to recognize. And I think we all work hard to make our environment better, but social is also part of our environment. So
Thank you for saying something.
okay.
Yep. Thank you. It is tough times right now.
Yeah, and there was a great bunch of people down in Watertown Square last night. There must have been, I don't know how many were there, that did a little local rally for Black Lives Matters, and it was well attended. We just drove through. We didn't actually sit and wave a sign, but I did go through, and there was quite a few people downtown, so it was nice. So.
Very good. Leo, before you proceed, can I just ask some procedural questions? So number one, if the public wishes to comment, there's also a chat function. Are we going to use that, or you just want people
I think everything should go through Laurel, because again, it'd be just easier if we could just have everything go to Laurel. And if anybody has a problem, if you could just, if you want me to repeat the email address, I will do that. Do I need to do that?
No, I don't think so. I was just curious.
Yeah,
Could you have Laurel
Maybe
send the email address?
It is an open meeting, and the chat stuff doesn't get public, so I think it'd be better if we just sent an email and we could read the email.
Could Laurel send out the email address so we can automatically respond via email to it?
No, it's not intended for the people in the meeting. It's for the public that might not be able to join.
Okay,
And yeah, and chat is specifically not allowed as part of the open meeting law component at this time because it's not part of the record.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
maybe if you like spelled her email address, just so if somebody is trying to write it down, they know they get the correct
Okay.
spelling.
Where did I read it? I wrote it.
I can do it, Leo.
Laurel, why did you do it? Because I put it aside.
Sure. Sure. It's LSCHWAB at Watertown-ma.gov. And that's on the agenda as well. I also just wanted to make one point. Susan said that she had a lot of like road noise and traffic happening in the area in her house that works best with the Wi-Fi. So that's why she's muted.
Okay.
And so if needed, obviously she knows she can unmute, but I just wanted to say that so that, yeah.
So I know there was a question. We sort of kept the agenda pretty light tonight. I know there's meeting minutes that we haven't done or addressed, but I just thought we wanted to, this is our first Zoom meeting and I didn't want to go crazy. So, and I don't know how much time we'll spend with Gideon, but I just didn't want to go nuts with other items. So I know we have hanging items and action items that we didn't address tonight, but I just wanted to make the first meeting a fairly, hopefully, a good meeting. So
One more question, Leo.
we'll address that in July. Go ahead, Maria.
So now, as we go through these items, if we have a question, so that we're not talking over each other, or is there a process? Do you want us to raise our hand?
Just raise your hand and I'll pick you. I'll call you out. If that's okay with everybody.
Okay. You want us to physically or use the raise?
Just raise your hand. I know there's a button in here somewhere that you can raise your, but if you raise, there's only so many of us. So if you raise your hand, I can see it.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to know some protocol.
All right.
Thank you.
So our first item on the agenda is, I believe, since my agenda's getting buried here on my desk, is Arsenal Park Phase B. Now, at the last town council meeting, the town council approved Phase A, and that's what I think Gideon, Laurel sent out that schedule by a little bit of mistake, but
Yeah, sorry about that. It's my fault.
that's okay.
It's my fault,
It's
too.
good to know that. It's good to know that. So at the town council meeting, the town manager really made a point that we wanted to move on and try to get the whole park done. And so that's why this is kind of a rushed schedule. It's going to be a tight schedule. And so it will help, I mean, I was kind of a jerk. I kept on asking him to, I shouldn't use that in a public meeting. I was kind of a nudge. It was kind of a nudge, and I've been bugging him, as well as Gideon, about getting the whole park done rather than waiting. So,
I'm going to put the schedule up for you all while you're talking. Is that okay?
Yep.
I'm gonna share it
So I just wanted to say one thing. There's no changes to this plan from what we saw and what we voted on. So there's nothing done to this plan as yet. It's just discussion from now, from what we had. So just so everybody knows, it's the plan we already voted on. All right, Gideon, go. You're on.
Do you see it? Is it
I see it as a big square of all of us. Your computer screen.
you don't see?
all we see is zoom up on your screen. We can see your screen, but not the actual document you're trying to show. Although there's a pinwheel, maybe it's just opening.
It's funny, when I shared it, it totally turned it into a different format. So, Phase B schedule. Oh, I see. Sure.
Success.
It's working.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't have a big, long speech or anything. I just wanted to, in conversations with our consultant, who actually is not yet signed as far as the new contract, so that's why they're not here tonight. CDM Smith had worked on our Phase A and had also worked on our master plan. And so as part of the process, as Leo had mentioned during the town council meeting, we created a preliminary schedule of what we thought we would need to do if we wanted to have Phase B constructed next year. And it's a very tight time frame, meaning that there's a lot of milestones that need to be hit. spot on. And so I wanted to just identify one of those is within weeks of our meeting with the council, we have to have this preliminary meeting to make sure that you understand where we're at and how we're moving forward, and that it's a streamlined process as far as the master planning component, because there's an approved 25% design for the entire site, and so there'll be modifications that would be identified through the process. So as you can see, in order to get it constructed, and it is close, we're looking at a March to October construction, and that's right up to the very last construction month of the year. We have to go through these processes and make sure that these are on the Conservation Commission agenda. And then we also want to make sure that the town council is included and brought up to date throughout the process. So I have two screens and it's way over there. So what we had talked about was this initial reintroduction to the master plan and what is happening to that night. We have already gone out to the site. Leo came out as well to identify what additional survey or geotechnical work needs to get done, and that needs to get started soon as well. And then there will be these subgroups to talk about the skate park in particular, and then we'll also coordinate with the community garden group for the community garden space and other
in the play lots.
And then the play lots as well. We will coordinate outside of the Conservation Commission process to ensure that there's at the staff level, without having to have the public meeting process, that there's feedback, and we propose something that's in keeping with what the skate user community is looking at, for instance, or the community garden user group, and also the playgrounds. Then in August of this year, we would be looking at the 50% design submission. And then at the same time, we would be providing it to the council so that they can see what's going on and are part of the process, rather than seeing it all at the very end like we did with Phase A. And then November, we're looking at a 90% design review, and that would be, the Conservation Commission permit hearing as well. So that would be the hearing process to finalize the permitting for the whole site or the rest of the site. In that same time frame, DPW would be doing their review. They get into all the technical and then we would finalize the bid documents in December of this year of 2020. And there would be a presentation. In order for us to move forward with the bid process, it has to go to council for an informational presentation, and then they would accept it to allow it to go to bid. And then we go through the council readings, and all these things take time. There's hearings, etc. And if all that meets the right requirements, it's out to bid, we get someone, then we would go to, we'd start the construction process in March of 2021, and it would be constructed over the summer. In talking with Leo about this time frame and this process, I believe Leo has a lot of really strong strengths within this type of review process, and I believe that if he's part of the team during the review, he can look at the technical components, and as an individual, rather than going through the Conservation Commission open meeting process, he can provide the feedback that's necessary to get us through to construction drawings in a more expedited way. So I really want to highlight that that's, to me, a very important part of this process in order for us to get through this in a more expedited way. Does anyone have questions about the schedule before I go to what the master plan was? Leo, you're the chair, so you can, yeah.
Okay, so I didn't want to just be rude. So I do have two comments. One is in the skate park / community garden / play area group. If we could have the meeting so that one of our members could be attending, I don't know if anybody's interested in the skate park, but if one of our members could attend those meetings, it may be good to have a knowledge of that. I don't know if anybody
Would like to.
Colleen said that?
Yeah, I would like to.
So if you could, Gideon?
Yep.
if you could keep Colleen and make sure that Colleen's invited to those meetings when we have them. And I would like to go to the play lots, if that's okay. And then what's the other one? Community gardens. Anybody interested in community gardens?
I can go as well.
That's
Right.
Jamie.
Where I can go.
The number down, so
Who's
Sorry, I
waving?
muted myself by accident.
Oh, Jamie was waving?
Yeah, I think there might be some overlap with the bee people for the community gardens, so I'm happy
Sure.
to go to that. But Colleen, we can go together as well.
That'd be great.
Matter of fact, Maria showed interest. All three of you could go as well because it's less than a quorum.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, I just want to make sure that one of us is represented at the different groups. You may have input. That's all.
Great.
So Gideon, if you keep those people informed when we go to have those sub meetings, and if they can't make it, I know some of them may do during the day, but we'll have to see what they are.
right.
But we'll try to get everybody involved so they can go and listen.
Just to,
Charles has a question.
Charlie, I didn't see his hand.
I
So
have a
go ahead,
question
Charlie.
about this November 2020 permitting hearing. I'm going to take the risk of asking what may be a stupid question, but what permit does this project require?
They've only got a permit to do Phase A from the Wetlands Protection Act. They're within 200 foot of the wetlands, 200 foot of the riverfront.
200, okay, well, if that's all it is, I guess we can be confident that we only need one hearing, but, and we have all the documents now already, so,
yeah,
or will we get more?
We'll get the
We'll get more.
90% design drawings.
so according to CDM, the first phase was the hardest part of this for the permitting component, because this one is actually reducing the asphalt and is increasing open space more, I think. But they haven't done any of the calculations yet for the details of the stormwater. So that all
Okay.
needs to get completed
But
prior to the,
we will have the 50% design.
Correct.
ahead of time.
We will see the 50 as well. So when we walked the site the other day,
Are we going to see the 90, excuse me, are we going to see the 90% before the hearing?
yeah, it'll be before the hearing, you'll see it.
Okay, it just looks like a due date there.
But we gotta see it, we will get the package. We're gonna get both, are there gonna be two packages, Gideon, one for us
this
to
is getting into too
9%?
much, this is too much detail.
Okay.
We don't even have our consultant on board yet.
We'll work that out, Charlie. So just so you know, when we walked the site with CDM and their landscape architect, and I guess the geotech was engineer as well. We talked about, we added rain gardens in Phase A, and we enlarged the rain garden in Phase A so that we could contain almost all the water on that site. So on the new site, a lot of it's gonna be grass, but they are gonna look at adding rain gardens along the southern portion of the park that we haven't seen yet. So they haven't done the calcs, but they're looking at trying to contain all the water on site. So that's what we'll see in the 50 and the 90% plans.
Maria's raising her hand.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah,
Thank you. So two questions. One is on the schedule here, it says, that we would in late August have a Conservation Commission, another check-in with the 50% design. And we don't typically meet in August. So just as a reminder, before we leave this meeting, we ought to set that meeting date because we typically don't meet in August.
I had
and
that
then-
I had that in my notes. We might have to have a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But since it's, since we don't have a light agenda, maybe that's something we could sort of, or I can send a doodle poll later.
So part
And
of this though, if there's, I guess it depends on if it's looking like we need to make some substantial changes for that 50%, which we may because of the substantial sinking that's happening in the park. If there's changes that are made, then yes, there's gonna have to definitely be a meeting of the commission in.
So Gideon, we talked about some of the changes.
Yeah.
Just so people would know what, without going crazy about total changes. We talked about the large part of the settlement, and Gideon is sort of suggesting it may be through an old tunnel or
I'll pull up the plan. Are we done with the schedule?
yeah, you can put the plan up.
Yeah, so there's significant sinking due to other below ground
just to the
infrastructure?
there was an old tunnel in the old, when the Watertown Arsenal was an arsenal in the old days.
Mhm.
There was a tunnel over where the play lot is, on that entrance over by Talcott Ave. There's significant settlement in there and in the parking lot, along the north side of the parking lot.
The oval one or the one on
old
the,
one, the old
okay.
one.
Okay.
So there's sinking here. There's probably sinking here. There's small sinking here. There's sinking here. And the playground has the most substantial sinking, where it's almost not going to be usable this year.
So Gideon suggested one thing while we're, these are just in a maybe right now, because I haven't done the geotech investigation to find out the cause of the settlement, other than we think it's a buried, an abandoned tunnel. We could move the play tot out of the very corner of the lot where Gideon's pointing and move it over to where he's pointing now,
Move to
on the
here.
other side of the sidewalk, and just reconfigure the sidewalk, because there's been less settlement in that area. It's just a relocation of the lot. There'd still be the kiddie lot and the larger kid lot in the same area wise. Just
The other area would remain open where the old lot was.
Yeah, then
that
it
would be
would
open
be
space.
your
We'd put planting in there and whatever.
Didn't
would
he
be
say there
grass.
still was some sinking there?
There's no sinking in the center grass area. There's significant sinking here.
Yep.
And it runs along here to there and sinks. And then it sinks here.
Okay.
And so we're going to be doing it, the exploration is the next stage. And as part of that, it'll inform how the playground is laid out. This was a master plan, but conceptual in nature. So, the curve of the pathways and some of those things may change slightly as part of this, and also through that exploration to find out why they're sinking. There was between the utility tunnels, old stormwater pipes, and then there was a whole series of old 18-ish houses that got torn down as part of the redevelopment of the site.
Mhm.
Those things are creating issues underground there.
Okay.
So this is the conceptual master plan that the Conservation Commission approved. This one has a date of July 2018. I don't have in front of my notes the actual date of it actually being approved, but it's from July is when it was created. And within that, phase A is from this bank right here to the right. And that's, so the community garden, the exercise station below the skate park, the tennis court, basketball courts, and the new pavilion, and the restoration of the old pavilion, and the restoration of the bathroom, the alteration of the parking lot, closing off the second loop, and reconfiguring the mouth, etc. The maintenance and restoration of the field. It'll still be the same field, but it will have all of its divots and holes filled in and leveled, but it will still be a sloped field to the south. The existing splash pad will be replaced with new heads, but the mechanisms and other things, at least as planned, we're going to remain. And then the new playground space up here, and then the natural playground space down below, and the rebuilding of a actual paved multi-use pathway at the very southern end of it to a new gateway into the Commander's Mansion property, which is Talcott Avenue at the very south end of this. As part of this, there would also be some interpretive signage and, interesting signage potentially put up. And I think that that's something that the commission or commission members could help weigh in on, what topic areas that we could focus on. And that's the general gist of what the master plan will entail for the second phase.
Are we anticipating that the 50% or the 90% see all these details and changes, and this is the one we're looking at conceptual, but see the actual kind of happen?
The 50% is typically pretty much the final plan,
Okay,
and the 90% gets all the details and is basically just prepping for that quote unquote 100%, which is
done.
what goes to bid. So if you're making changes past the 50%, you're making changes to way more sheets than you ought to be making changes to.
Okay,
So we're by the 50%, we should know that the playground is going to be where it is, or it's going to be shifted over.
Mhm.
And that's the total area of the playground, but the equipment itself may not have been selected by 50%. It depends on how efficient we are with these side meetings to, make that determination.
okay.
We'd already looked at like 2 or 3 structures, but it sounds like there's some more interest in looking at other options.
Okay.
Leo, do you want me to? Maria's
Maria's got a question. Yeah, I can see Maria.
Thank you. So did I hear you correctly, Gideon, and say that that CDM is not even under contract yet for this design work and the geotechnical exploration that needs to be done? And August is not that far away.
Yeah, we have the funds lined up to finalize it. It just hasn't been it hasn't been finalized as far as contract goes. They actually came out to the site with multiple people to actually create an accurate scope, and that's all we're waiting for is the scope, and then that'll be a completed piece. And they are currently our consultant. They're just not contracted to start this work component yet. But you're right, it's quickly coming along, and we need to get them up and running.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at is it's a little loose, it could push into September easily, it sounds like, or the 50% design meeting.
Early September, maybe, yeah.
I'm just trying.
Gideon, it could go into early September, right?
Yeah.
So if it's early September, we wouldn't have to have a special meeting because we could, September meeting is regular. But so we'll have to watch that.
Yeah, what we'll do next is coordinate with Glenn and Laurel to figure out if the schedule can match up with your meeting schedules that you have, or if any of them have to be special, so that we can really have a date specific time frame for where we want to hit everything. When you have those, it's a lot easier to keep track and keep it going. When you have only a range, it's easy to miss something, like you're saying, Maria.
Okay, that sounds good. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comments? Okay, hearing none, I guess we can move on to our next item. Thank you, Gideon.
Thanks, Leo. And I also just wanted to let the commission members know that if you individually have things that you'd like to, relay to Laurel or me about this process, or like about ideas you have about specific components of it, we as staff and you can have that conversation, and we can make sure to incorporate it into the piece. That allows, you as individuals to give us the comments, and then, working with consultants, we can determine if those are reasonable, or if we would have a response at the next meeting.
So there's one thing that Gideon and I spoke about when we were on our walk with CDM, and that was with regard to the community gardens and the fit out of the community gardens. And I thought it would be nice if we're spending all this money in the park to have it look nice and everything else, that the tables, whatever they use, would be of similar designs, or all the same, not and look nice. So
And
I don't know whether we purchased the tables and so they're all the same and they're all in pretty good shape. That's just a thought. I sort of thought it was a good idea, but that's something we can all decide as we move forward. That's called fit out, so we have a while on that.
That's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. And I think it's also important as part of the phasing process, if we want to have the park finished, then planning for and building the beds and fitting out the community garden space will be a much more consistent and predictable process for the whole construction. And I had actually, Jamie, knowing that you have worked with the Fresh Pond area, I think that's a good example of ADA compliant, sturdy,
Yep.
successful garden beds. And so getting some specs on that as an example to figure out what the cost would be for that to be incorporated into the Phase B would make sense.
Okay, thank you. All right, I guess, thank you, Gideon. I think as long as there are no other questions, we can move on to the next item, which would be some old business that for some reason never got finalized.
Yeah.
And Laurel, I think you can explain it to us, but I think one of them was certainly, both of them probably were faux pas on the owners, that one never actually went to the courts to finalize it, and the other one, they just never got a certificate of compliance, if I'm correct. So,
Correct. Yeah. So
why don't you go
thanks,
ahead with-
Gideon.
Thanks, everybody. I didn't want to be rude.
Hi, Gideon.
Bye.
So why don't we go with 57
Um,
Coolidge Ave, Laurel?
Yeah, sure. So, Deborah DeBastos is joining us. She's representing the property owner. I've been in communication with her. I told her, by no means necessary for her to join, but she's here. But I can just quickly explain the scenario. So, the property owner needs a reissue of the original certificate of compliance for work that was completed back in 1985. The issue is that the original certificate of compliance was issued by us, but it was never filed with the Registry of Deeds by the property owner. Our office only has a copy. The registry does not accept copies. They only accept the original. And my understanding is the property owner is doing some refinancing or financial something or other, and basically just came across this issue when they were making sure that everything was, buttoned up. And so they came to us asking what to do. I did ask our circuit rider at DEP to find out what the protocol should be. And so I followed their advice and received a written request via email for the reissue of the certificate with some context explaining what happened, as DEP had requested that the property owner do. And the next step is just to have you all vote to reissue the original so that the property owner can then submit it to the Registry of Deeds and get it all squared away.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I guess I need a motion to accept, to reissue the order of conditions. It was signed by Diana Proctor and Maria and Mary Louise that signed it, so I did see it. Even though it was a copy, at least I knew the names. It was legitimate. So I guess I'd like a motion to reissue a certificate of compliance for this parcel, for this work.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to reissue the 1985 certificate of compliance for 57 Coolidge Ave. That will be actually signed by Laurel on our behalf.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a question.
Oh,
Leo, are you, having read the certificate, are you confident we don't need another visit?
correct. Well, it was so long ago, it was issued, so it was originally issued and approved by the Conservation Commission. The only issue here is that it wasn't filed, and they need an original to file. So it's more of it was already accepted as being completed.
All right, okay.
It's an administrative thing, Charlie. I mean, occasionally.
I get that. I just wondered if there's possibility that things had changed out there in the site. But if there's no reason to be concerned about that, then we're fine.
Yeah, I don't think I could be concerned. I think it's just a sign off of something that was done long ago, and administratively wasn't followed through on. So
Okay.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call for this. Okay, Charlie,
Aye.
Maria,
Yes.
Patrick,
Aye.
Jamie,
Hi.
Colleen,
Aye.
And Leo is yay. So we'll a unanimous vote on that one. So thank you for
Excellent.
getting that done. Thank you, Deborah. Good luck. Okay, the next one is 23 Elm Street.
Yes,
This is another
similar
old
but
one.
slightly different. So this property owner came to us because it's under fairly new ownership, and they were, I think, again, kind of making sure that everything was above board and taken care of. But they realized that a certificate of compliance for emergency work that had been completed in 2002 was never issued. And that's what our records indicate as well. We were not able to find a certificate of compliance in our files. What happened was there was an emergency break or emergency like rupture of the septic system. So they completed the work to fix that problem immediately, obviously because it was an emergency, and then submitted retroactively an NOI and everything, including the as-built plan, sort of after the fact, which I understand is, you know, something that happens from time to time when something like that happens as an emergency. We have all of those, you know, the rest of the documentation, but for some reason, a certificate of compliance was never filed, was never issued. I confirmed with DPW that the property is now hooked up to the town sewer system, and everything seems to be in working order. But again, in order for everything to sort of be all taken care of, they requested that the commission issue sort of a retroactive certificate of compliance.
Are there any questions? Maria?
So Laurel, I think you said you did make a site visit? Okay.
Yep, and I confirmed with DPW to have them send me the sort of site, you know, drawings that they had on record showing the connection to the town sewer system.
And then I have one more question. So that's good. So something that's kind of can fall through the cracks in addition to this is cross-referencing with the Board of Health or whatever health department's called to make sure that the septic system has been properly decommissioned. And since it must be within our jurisdiction, that would be good to make sure that it's not a continuing source of bacteria. Have we cross-referenced that either on the plans or that we can somehow verify it was decommissioned in accordance with state health code, the old septic system?
That did not occur to me to do. I have the file right here. I can't promise you that I'm not an engineer, so I can't promise you that I will be able to like see what notations are on here that might you know, confirm that.
I guess what I would suggest is I don't think you need to even do that.
Yeah.
I think we can make a vote to still issue it.
Okay.
Jamie had a comment. Jamie had a comment as well.
Okay. Can I just finish my sentence?
Yep. Go right ahead.
So I was just going to suggest
I
that
thought you were done.
well, I'm sorry, what?
I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, instead of Laurel trying to figure out on the plans anything, that's not exactly necessary. What's might be more useful is to just check in with the health department to see if they have the same records that DPW has. Yes, it has been connected to the town sewer, and that hopefully they have a record of it being decommissioned. Now, Jamie.
Yeah, was the emergency work, like, was this, my question is the decommissioning of the septic system separate from the emergency work
Mhm.
Like when the emergency work happened, was that to get the septic system back in order, or was the fix connecting to the sewer? Because I would imagine if what they need is a certificate of compliance for the emergency work, we just need to verify that the emergency work happened to satisfaction, which it sounds like Laurel did. But I was thinking the same thing as Maria, so we should probably separately make sure that it was, you know, capped and filled and whatever else they do, because it would have happened in
Right.
that jurisdiction. So I think if they're like separate in time and in permits, then we probably don't need to know whether it was properly decommissioned to vote. But if the emergency work included decommissioning the septic system, then we probably do need to know that in order to vote.
And Laurel, just say, oh, go ahead. And Laurel, just so you know, decommissioning just really means that they pump it out, they pump out that septic system, and they just fill it in with sand or soil. Sometimes
Right.
they break the sides in. So it's basically making sure it's not just there's like a state code. There might be a little bit more to it, but it's basically pumping out the contents and filling in the hole.
Safety.
Right.
Safety thing. I
Um,
remember this case almost, and I think it was for the emergency connection to the sewer.
Yeah, so I'm looking through the paperwork now, and I found from the conservation agent to the director of public health, it's been determined that the system is in failure. They must pursue connection to the municipal sewer as soon as possible to provide effective disposal/treatment of sewage. The existing septic system must be abandoned under the provisions of 310 CMR. So, and that was my understanding too, to Jamie's question, that the fix for this problem was to abandon the septic system and connect the site to the town sewer system. So they weren't like separate occurrences.
Jamie,
And yeah, so do you know, like, do we have I guess it would be helpful to see the notice of intent, because then we could see like what work was included in that. So then we would be able to confirm that it happens. I would imagine if that notice of intent included filling, like pumping and filling the tank, then
Right.
then that would be documented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, I looked at this in much more detail, like, 2 months ago, and 3 months, whatever, a million years ago, and I thought that we would be.
Did you say they submitted the as-built plans?
Yes.
Because usually on the plan, it will, if you like look for what the rectangle where the septic system leach field in the tank is, a lot of times on the plan it would have an arrow that said like pumped and filled.
Mm-hmm.
That might be easy enough to spot.
Oh. I mean, I know I can see where it's in the other page. Oh. Here we are. Yes, it says existing tank pumped and abandoned.
Does it say in accordance with that state code, or?
No.
It's
This
probably,
has been done before the state code was in effect.
yeah, what year was this?
2002.
No, it would have been in effect then.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it sounds like this was all precipitated by the health department sending a letter to the homeowner saying that your septic system is in failure and therefore you need to connect. So I think that the trail of people is probably, the dots are probably connected. I was just trying to make sure that all the dots were connected. But it sounds like from what you've described, Laurel, that the health department issued a letter to the homeowner saying your septic system's failing. You need to, either completely replace it or connect to the town sewer. And they chose to connect to the town sewer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm looking at a letter from the Board of Health that says that exact thing.
Okay. So I feel comfortable that then if it precipitated all from the Board of Health, then I would imagine they would have made sure that it was closed. But if maybe after the meeting you could just double check. But I feel comfortable.
Okay, yeah, I will do that. And I'm sorry that I don't remember the ins and outs of this.
Okay,
Fine.
So that if everybody's happy, can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for this parcel, this issue on 23 Elm Street?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
That's Charlie, by the way. Can I have a roll call vote? That's me. Charlie,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Maria,
aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Leo is aye. So moved. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we only have one item left. Hope you're not all bored. So the last item is open space, and of course I have notes on open space.
Leo, sorry, just want to remind that we do have an additional thing, which was the MVP support letter, but hopefully that will be quick.
Okay,
we
so
can do that afterwards. I just wanted to.
That's part of open space. We can do it right now. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, so I have been working on our application for an MVP action grant, seeing as our MVP planning process is winding down. We are applying for funds to carry out a comprehensive climate and energy plan, which hopefully is exciting to you. And we are also going to be including some sort of more actionable things that we will embed within the planning process so that there's some more kind of tangible outcomes, which I think will be unique and will build momentum. But all of that is to say that we need letters of support from various, groups and organizations throughout town. So if the commission would be willing to submit a letter of support, that would be really great. And I already have the template written, so.
Perfect.
Maria?
So this is another plan to follow up with we're wrapping up the, I forget what you guys call it here, but your climate vulnerability plan. So it's another, it's not an actionable thing.
So this is the confusing nomenclature that the state uses. They call this first initial phase of MVP funding a planning grant, but what you get out of it is not a full plan in the sense of like how an urban planner would develop a comprehensive climate plan, for example. There's not enough community engagement required. You're sort of creating a list of ideas that the public has come up with, but it's not comprehensive enough to really be considered a plan with a capital P.
So it's basically not a document that you would reference and then do your next step.
Yeah, it's
right.
not akin to like an open space plan at this point. We have a solid foundation of input that we've gotten and a couple things that sort of lay the groundwork for a climate plan that we were able to do because we got sort of additional funds from the state, sort of to go above and beyond what they require as part of their initial MVP phase in terms of what you're actually like bare bones required to do for them. But what action grants are able to be used for a specific set of activities, and one of those is to fund a climate action plan. So a lot of other communities have successfully gotten action grants in order to do a more comprehensive planning effort. So that's what, you know, even but like when I started my job in September, that was sort of like acknowledged that that's what Watertown really kind of needs, is a more comprehensive look at how, you know, how we move forward, because obviously we've done lots of things, but it's not really like a coordinated set of steps. But to that point of like, let's actually do some stuff. That's why we're including a couple different sort of, I call them like early action items. And one of them is going to be a set of resources and educational materials for landlords and renters, both on how to either make their rental properties more resilient to climate change, or for renters, how to you know, make their homes more resilient, even if they don't own them. So we've included a couple sort of more tangible things that people will be able to see and be like, oh wow, okay, we're moving forward, even as we're sort of planning at the same time.
So the letter is to support the overall program, correct?
Yes. So like as part of our application, we're supposed to submit letters of support from different groups and committees and town departments, showing sort of like a diverse array of support for this effort.
So we originally, when the town was going forward with the MVP program, we also submitted a letter showing our support for the town to join the MVP program. So this is just a similar letter to that.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you for the explanation, Laurel. That sounds great.
Sure.
I'm in support.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Amy, you got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you can share what the other early action items are that you're applying for.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I just didn't want to like ramble on. I was running out of breath. So the other is going to be sort of getting us a little bit more of a comprehensive look at green infrastructure. Obviously, we have done a substantial number of green infrastructure projects throughout town, and with some of our stormwater pollution requirements, we've done work around that, but we are hoping to include a few other sort of variables into the consideration of where more immediate green infrastructure projects should go, based more around equity. So thinking about areas of town that really lack street trees, for example, areas that are prone to flooding during storms. So sort of adding those variables in. And it's not to say that DPW isn't going to continue, apace doing other things. This is just sort of getting some funding, getting some additional funding for our green infrastructure work, and hopefully coming out at the end with initial designs for a couple key sites that get identified as priorities. In an ideal scenario, we would also be able to sort of involve the local neighborhoods where they're going to be, and sort of educate residents about, like, what is a green street? Why is your street becoming a green street? How, where do you think the blah, 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 sort of engage people and educate them about the value of green infrastructure too. So, and I would also, point out that those two things, the education for landlords and renters and the grid infrastructure are two of the top priority ideas that were most favored by residents who participated in our community engagement so far with MVP. So that's how they got identified. They're kind of coming straight from the outreach that we've done so far.
Thank you.
Colleen, you got a question?
Yeah, when is that information available for owners and renters, or do you have an idea of when that might be available if it's not already? How to be more green?
I'm sure that some stuff exists out there. I think
Specific to like Watertown and what needs people have brought up.
right. So that's why we want to create that content.
Okay, so it's not created.
yeah.
Part of this letter is to go ahead and give our approval to continue for that research to find those information. Okay.
So the letter is for them to apply for a grant
Sure.
through the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. If they get the grant, then they would create the content. And so there's these planning grants and then there's these action grants. And as Laurel knows, because I work in Newton, there's a regional grant happening too for some modeling of the Charles River that I'm pretty sure you guys are on board with too. So that's why I'm in the action thinking right now, but you do need to have a good concrete plan with the steps outlined. So we just need to get a more formalized plan together.
Sure.
That's good.
Okay.
I guess, do we need to vote on, we need to vote on this, so I guess that has to be another roll call, right? So.
So I'll make a motion if you want. Or do we
Okay,
need
thank you.
Okay, well, first off, did you already draft the letter, Laurel?
She has
I have a template, yeah.
standard template, I believe, right?
Can I nominate you, Leo, oh, Patrick has a question.
Yes, I think before I would want to voice support as part of the Conservation Commission, I would like to see the actual draft, or have a more concrete idea about what we are supporting. I'm sure that we are going to support it.
Laurel, do you want to write? Do you want to read it, Laurel? The draft you have?
Is that what you mean, Patrick, or more information about what we're applying for?
Well, I was thinking even we might be able to feel inspired to add something to the content and improve it before it goes out.
That's welcome. This is just a template, so.
I think I think there might be some confusion. Patrick, she has a deadline. I think Monday is the deadline for the grant application, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a week from today, but it's coming up.
Oh, okay. So a week from today. And so Patrick, she could share with us the application, but the application is going to be a pretty big document. We can't really slice and dice through that in this meeting, but it moves forward with process and programs of what that align with our commission. So it's all just creating more of a planning document to have the foundation of which we would have further action. So, and she called it this comprehensive climate and energy plan. So I think we have to decide tonight whether to write that support letter or not. So I don't know where we go from here.
Laurel, could you read the draft that you have?
Yeah, so I can also, we've done this before where sort of you either have Leo, take lead on, editing the letter and submitting it on your behalf. If you want me to send the letter out and you can, send your thoughts and ideas just to Leo, let me know.
What did you say, John?
I thought what she just suggested sounded like the best plan. If we circulate an email with the letter or draft template attached, and then we send our comments to you, Leo.
Yep.
That sounds like it could work efficiently.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
great. I will do that.
So do I have a motion to accept, to support the sending of a letter to the MVP program?
So
Well,
moved.
Go Go ahead.
Is Patrick satisfied with that?
Well,
You get to see.
I still like to have some assurance that I know what I'm supporting. If I'm simply supporting the idea of making progress in this application, that's fine. So I suppose if the motion is worded in such a way as to indicate that the letter is more of a conceptual document rather than anything with concrete details in it.
May I make a
then-
suggestion that Laurel send you, if it's okay, maybe a draft of the grant application so you can see what, is that something you would be willing to do, or Laurel?
Well,
I can send a summarized version. Honestly, that it's not done yet. I'm still writing. And it hasn't been edited by other town staff or anything yet. But I can send you more detailed information about what we're actually applying to do. But yeah, I would just say you're generally supporting the idea that Watertown needs to create a climate and energy action plan.
sounds like a motion.
You don't need to be wedded to, every detail. And frankly, a lot of the details don't exist yet because we haven't gone through the planning process yet.
Okay, yeah, so what you just said sounds to me like a motion I can support.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so I'll
Maria,
make
make that motion.
so I don't need the application, just to be clear. I just was trying to make sure
Yeah.
Patrick was on board.
Yeah, I get it.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Yes, please.
So I'll make a motion that we put Leo, our chair, in charge of disseminating a template and gathering comment or a draft letter of support for the MVP planning grant application that the planning department is planning. God, that's too many words. That the planning department will be applying for from the EOEEA, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs.
So moved.
Second? I heard second, somebody?
I think
No, did somebody second it already?
I said so moved.
Okay,
Patrick.
Colleen, I think Colleen said it. I think Colleen got the second there. Okay,
Oh.
roll call again. Charles,
I,
Jamie,
Aye.
Patrick,
aye.
Maria,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
and Leo, yes. So we'll get that letter out. I guess it has to be out pretty quick, so it'll be a quick turnaround.
Yes, please, and
Okay,
thank you.
so in conjunction with the MVP program, as well as our CPA funds, there's been a number of meetings and town feedback from our residents about open space. And I somehow just don't want the town to forget we need more open space. So, and we also need to be prepared for a CPA application program that will start maybe September, maybe October. Am I quite right with that, Maria?
We shall see, but hopefully.
Okay. Well, they said they're back on schedule. It might be a dream, but say late fall, early December, they may be looking for applications for grants for whatever. And I'd like to make sure that we have one for open space. I have a site in mind. But there's a lot of work to be done, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Steve Magoon about how we could get involved. I'm envisioning that the application would come from the planning department for the parcel I'm interested in, which is next to Walker's Pond. So that parcel I think the application would be prepared by the town to the CPA, and we would just have to get a whole ton of support. But there's a lot of things that are needed to get a package together. And I think we all will have input in this package, and we'll need support from other community groups as well. We can't just say the Conservation Commission. We need everybody to get involved. Well, Charlie, you just hold it for a second. So there's a whole bunch of things that we need to get onto this. The history, there's an AUL at the site. We need an environmental assessment. We'll need plans and survey done. We need to lay out the walkways, a bridge through the wetlands, access to the pond, whether a field can fit on there, a playing field. You know, Gideon's left. He did one a long time ago that showed a field. We need to get together permitting costs and then a cost estimate for purchase of the property, fees, environmental site assessment, site demo, site improvements, and the engineering costs. And on top of that, we need a schedule. And then the kicker is I'm going to say the benefits of the site before I go to the kicker. And the benefits of the site are access to the largest pond in Watertown. It's and it's associated wetlands.
Leah, do you want to say what the site is for people who don't know?
It's Walker's Pond, and if anybody wants to go visit it, I'll bring you down and show it to you. It's on the Watertown Watertown line. It's not too far from Maria's house. You could actually walk, but it has potential that if we get a couple of easements, that pond, a walkway on that pond can actually connect to the Charles Road walkway with an easement next to Repton Place and Stop and Shop can connect into the Watertown, the Charles Road walkway. So there's a lot of potentials. And again, I said, it's the only pond we have in town. It's relatively undeveloped. It's 7 acres of land, 2 acres of it a pond. Drawbacks are the AUL. It's landlocked. We need to get access by eminent domain for access from Pleasant Street as well as to walkway from Waltham Street. So, but the killer is that I see is conservation restriction and who will hold it. So we got to think of an agency that'll be able to hold the restriction on this property if it's purchased with CPA funds. So that's my spiel. I think it's a good site in the fact that it's sold in 2017, the last time it sold, was for $1.6 million, which is not a bad price for 7 acres of property, even though some of it's wetlands and unusable. Good for us because it's wetland. Something we could expand a wetland if we really wanted to. But that's my spiel. I think that's the plum for us to go after, and I think that's what I'd like to think about and make a plan to move forward with. But I haven't talked to Steve yet because I think Steve's out, and I don't know how long he's going to be out. But I don't know if we can wait forever. So, Charlie, you have a comment?
Colleen, I think, was first.
Oh, Colleen first. Oh, Colleen, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that's a great plot, but would you just mind expanding what the AUL is?
So the AUL is it's funny. I got actually, Laura, you got a copy of what the AUL was, I think, of what the chemicals were buried under the site. And I forget what they were, but it's on the, maybe it was in the, maybe it was
the acronym, in case you wanted to know that too, it stands for area use or restrict limitation.
I can activity and use limitation. Sorry, I used this word. Activity and use limitation. It is something that goes on your deed. It's not a good thing to have if you were to develop a piece of land, but for open space, it's something that's considered. It's also a little less desirable for a developer that may want to buy that piece of land because there's an AUL on it. It sets limitations as to what you are allowed and not allowed to do. So you may not be allowed to put a building, or you may not be allowed to have something that would allow exposure to the soil. So you have to find out what is the AUL stipulate and what are the chemicals of concern.
Okay.
So if I Colleen, just quick, if I recall correctly, this case came in front of us in 2005 or 4, when the original whole site was going to be developed, and the issue, if I recall correctly, was if a building was over it, they would have to ventilate the sub-basement area to ventilate it, a positive ventilation system. to keep the fumes from getting into the building. As open space, I thought we had our own consultant on board, and I think it was Damaris, Anne-Marie Damaris?
Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie?
Mhm.
And basically, the indication was, as you had said, as an open field, it would be, since the dissipation of anything that was there, it is capped. It's some chlorinated something that's in the ground, and those definitions are in the report. So that's why I'd like Laurel to find the report, because we have some assessments on this property already. So just so we have a history on the property was rented by Raytheon, who did develop radar systems in the property where BJ's is right now. They developed some radar systems in World War II that were state of the art. Now, obviously, it helped us a lot in World War II, but they dumped some chemicals there. They weren't dumped there by the Gore Estate folks who owned the land. It was leased to Raytheon, and it was dumped and covered, capped. Charlie?
Yeah, Leo, do you know who the current owner is? Is it Gore Estate or?
No, it's not the Gore Estate. The Gore Estate sold the property to a bank. Then they sold it to the Jewish Day School plus Bell South first people, whoever developed Bell South originally. They owned the whole parcel. So it was sold in 2017 to Seon LLC, 20 Seon LLC in 2017. So I don't know where they are. It's an LLC. I think they're in State Street in Boston. I know that. That's right off of the town's website. So Colleen, you had a question?
I'm also, I think Charles was next.
Oh.
No,
Charlie?
that was my question.
Okay.
Perfect.
Colleen?
Now, Maria.
Oh, Maria, okay.
So as much I would love to have that piece of land be dedicated to open space, I do remember that during our times when we first had our, the grassroots group to set up the Community Preservation Act, what did we call it? Invest in Watertown group. And we had one of our first meetings around that parcel. So I remember back then that some of the counselors, the town counselors, were thinking we just ought to buy it, that the town just ought to buy it. And if, just to say it, because there is a lot to do and we don't even have, we don't have a land trust here.
I know.
So that should be, part of the exploration, because I think if running out of the gate, when we're up and running in our community preservation committee that I'm on, if we have an ask for $2-3 million, I don't really see it getting funded. I'm sorry. I mean, that's half the pot of money we have right now.
But it wouldn't be over one. It would be that's part of the application process, is how much money you need, and you can spread it over a number of years. You don't have to pay all at once.
Right, but we're looking at processes that would require, some percentage of match or something.
Well, so that's what we got to look for. We got to look for ways to make it happen. So being kind of grubby, sent a letter off to Raytheon last week.
Oh, cool.
Not that I'll get anything, but I did send it off, and who knows? I also sent an email to the Solomon Foundation to see if they could help us out with design, which would be some other cost issues.
Leo, I have some questions, but I'd like to follow up tomorrow with a phone call. Because
so just so you know, Charlie and I have had a meeting with regard to a land trust with the folks from Waltham.
Let me ask one more question. Are you proposing that this proposal go to the CPA from the Conservation Commission?
No, it can't come from us.
No, it's going to. I would envision it came from the planning department, but I think we need a whole bunch of support for the folks on the CPC to approve of this. We need to get more than just the Conservation Commission in back of it. We need a whole bunch of civic people. We need other communities, other groups to say, yeah, we think it's a great idea to buy this property and move forward.
My first question is, does the public meeting law govern our discussions, or can we pursue this as a group of individuals? If the conservation,
this is open meeting law, so we have to watch. We have to follow the rules.
Well, I know that, but that's what I was about to say is I do have a number of questions, but I don't have to have them answered now.
Okay, we can do it offline.
So I was trying to understand if we are in fact or if you're proposing that a group of individuals pursue this and put it together.
No, I think I envisioned that the planning department would submit the application
Correct.
with our support. And I'm only saying that because I think if we there's a lot of work to do this, and I think the town planning department can help us do it.
Well, my question is about.
I don't know if I have the wherewithal to pull. I mean, I have friends at engineering firms. If I was still working, I could get my CAD operator to do a plan for me.
I'm asking about
like
the
that.
public meeting law, and I would prefer that this not be something subject to the public meeting law, because that'll make it extremely difficult. And I think if we decide now that we're going to do this as a group of interested individuals, or not, or those who aren't interested don't have to do it, but we can go to the planning board, or I don't even know if you need it to be from the planning board as far as a CPA is concerned.
Nope.
No. So that's.
Leo didn't say planning board, Charlie. Planning
department.
Well, it's a town department.
Yes, it's the town department. It's Steve and Laurel will actually be
Correct. I'm sorry.
You'll be in charge.
But I don't know why you want the planning department to do it. And my concern is making it feasible by not making it subject to the public, not making the deliberations and the inner workings of getting it together subject to the public meeting law.
Oh, I don't think the application would necessarily be open meeting law. That's the top. It's Steve and Gideon and Laurel putting together a package that's complete. We would have, I think, we'd have some input into it, but it wouldn't be subject to a meeting. Our open meeting law. It would be the town putting it together. They might let us get involved with reviewing it.
I want to discuss it with you and do that offline, as it were.
Okay.
If I want to send you an email tomorrow,
Okay.
I can't do that if it's the Conservation Commission doing it.
No, that's all right. This is so. I was going to say something. So Charlie and I offline had previously had a conversation. This is just an informational meeting, Charlie, right now. There's nothing official here. So Charlie and I offline have had meetings with Waltham to set up a land trust. And I think it's a lot of work. And to avoid that, it would be great if the town purchased the property. And the problem right now is just like a number of years ago, when we tried to purchase property and 2008 came along, and there was town funding was decimated by the recession in 2008, and nothing happened. So we have a similar situation now with COVID, and the fact that the town funds they haven't got their meals tax, they haven't got a lot of taxes, and we're not going to get the state match that we thought we were going to get. At least we don't know what we're going to get yet. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I just don't know whether the town is going to go out and buy anything. So I'm just trying to bring this up so we can all be aware of it, and we do have, if we want to move, I don't know if a CPC is the only way to get this property or not. I just don't know yet. But I just want to be prepared. I want to start moving some way.
Leo,
Patrick.
are you interested in partly developing that 7 acres as playing field?
Well, originally when we met with a certain committee, we talked about putting a playing field on there because playing fields are an issue in town, not enough of them. So I did walk the site again the other day, and there seems to be enough room for a playing field, parking lot, and more.
Yes,
I envision we have a wetlands that juts off away from the pond. I envision getting us an easement from Waltham Street in a wooden walkway. So if for those who've been to the site, there's a walkway currently that comes down off of Waltham Street and goes into the apartment complex. I would like to see that take an easement to a certain point and then go have a bridge across the wetland so we don't have to go into the complex to get access to the site. These are just Leo's ramblings in his head. I also envision a plan where we have a walkway all the way around the pond in Waltham. And I have talked to them as well, but they're busy with other things right now.
My
Laura?
question about the playing, sorry.
I was just going to say, for the interest of time, like, do you have an objective for talking about this right now, or just sort of laying the groundwork or gauging people's interest in working on this, or?
I think I'm trying to plant a seed so that we all know that we have to move forward pretty quickly on something, at least by maybe September, October timeframe, that we have a very an established package to purchase the property with a CPA, or presenting it to the CPA, or we have another alternative. But yeah, it's just a planting a seed tonight. I know we can't resolve everything tonight, but I just wanted to get everybody on board that open space. Now, I know there's been other issues with regard to open space about people saying we should buy house lots and tear them down and make it pocket parks, which is a great idea. I sort of killed myself that the town sold the library in the east end of town to the church down the other end of town to tear it down and put a parking lot in. It's like a song from the 60s. But I think this is completely different in that for you buy a lot in town, it's $500,000 or $600,000 for a quarter acre of a lot, whereas we can get this lot for $1.6 million. It's just, to me, a bigger bang for the buck with a lot more benefits than just buying a house lot and tearing it down and having a small pocket park. This has opportunities. It's the only pond we have in town. It's an asset that we don't have access to any of the ponds in town. They're all on private property. So this would give us access to one of the largest ponds in that town. So, and it has a wetlands associated with it, if you all recall. So we could actually, as you know, as down the road, we could get maybe an MVP grant to expand the wetlands and make it bigger wetlands. And you know, but because it's used also, just so you know, it's used for stormwater storage from Waltham. Stormwater drains from Waltham dump into the pond.
Mm-hmm.
The other, just somebody asked about issues with the site with regard to the AUL. There is also 2 Watertown easements through the site, one for a storm drain and one for a sewer as well. So there's a lot of issues with developing the site, but it's a perfect place for a park, whether there's a field in there or not. That's something we design down the road. I think we talked about a field in there because it's big enough for a field and we don't have enough fields. But that's part of the design, and that's down the road.
Well, the recreation department would be interested in helping if we were willing to acknowledge the possibility of incorporating a field.
Correct.
Right now, I'm not willing to buy that. I don't visually imagining what I remember the site. I don't think there is enough room there.
I think Gideon did a plot that showed enough room for a field.
Yeah.
Well, the AUL might preclude that. The area where there's room for a field is where the AUL is.
You said there was 5 acres of land, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's an AUL.
2 acres of water, 5 acres.
There's an AUL upon the wetland and a.
Charlie, we'll just have to look. That's something that we have to do planning for.
Yeah.
That's what we need to move forward with.
Well, I agree, but we're not going to resolve it tonight.
No. I didn't intend to resolve it tonight. I just said those are one of the issues that we have to look at. Where it is, I got to find out. And if Laurel, if you could find those old reports, it tells us where it is and it tells us what's there. And I think we have a report from Anne Marie Damaris of what could, because she was our consultant on that one. If she could help, that would help us understand more of what's going on. So, just Maria.
So, not to belabor this, because this is really, you are just planting a seed. There's a lot of homework. There's a lot of things that you rattled off at the beginning that maybe you could start pushing somebody to do, because we can't use our little bit of fee funds that we have.
Correct. You're absolutely correct.
So I see like a whole year's worth of stuff that would need to be done before you are ready for an application.
No, I'm going to accelerate that time. That's why.
Okay. Well, just remember that, as you stated, most cities and towns are definitely budget constrained right now. We've had furloughed employees in Newton, where I work. So this is not the time that people are looking to spend money. However, if this is the time to get a bargain piece of land, then it is definitely worth pursuing. This cannot come from the Conservation Commission, this application. So Charlie, just to be clear, we are not a body that can apply for this pot of money. So this is just something
I don't know whether the planning department is any better situated to do it. Maybe they have the authority to do it, but I don't know if they're
Well,
getting.
I think, Charlie, if you look at two parcels that were purchased locally, the Waltham has just purchased the the field station, which is off on the way to Bentley on the left. They purchased it for, I don't know, say 17 million. My numbers might be a little bit off.
concern right now is just
But
simply the
the
question.
Deer
who
Planning
can-
Department went after that package. And same with Newton. The Newton acquired Webster Woods.
Correct.
And that was the
Yep.
town requested that money from the CPA. So it was the town that did those applications in both instances. Not
And
the-
And in those cases that I can speak truth to Newton, it was absolutely from our planning department,
Right.
and our conservation agent in Newton
Right.
was highly involved.
Well, that's what I envisioned. That's why I envisioned the planning department helping us here.
Okay, fine, but do they have the staff, the time, and can they deal with the constraints that would be there if they're doing it?
Charlie,
Those are-
these are all things that we don't need to sort out any of that stuff right now. Leo's just trying to.
I agree with that. I'm just putting them on the table because
Well,
I think they need to be resolved.
I've been trying to set up a meeting with some folks in town management so I could get permission to use our staff to get going on this. And they're kind of busy right now. So
Yeah.
bear with me, and maybe by next meeting, next month, I've had that meeting and I can tell you more of what's going on.
Okay,
Sounds
well, I
good.
have a number of questions that I'll send you by email.
Okay, right.
All right.
Colleen, you're in the dark now, Colleen.
Where
Yeah, I
are you
moved
going?
inside, but my dining room is not much better. Our light, she should have 4 lights, but has 1 on, so I need to talk to my new landlord.
All right,
But
so I guess that's the only item I wanted to finish tonight was that. So if we could, if nobody else has any comments, we could adjourn the meeting, and hopefully in July, we can meet together. Does anybody have any questions, any comments? Anybody else?
I think
Oh, we have a
Jacob,
comment. Go ahead. Hello.
You have to unmute yourself.
Jacob.
I don't know if
Hey, so sorry, can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Hey, good to see everyone again. Welcome to my kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the appropriate place, but I was just kind of curious procedurally. I had a great time biking down the street that's just south of Arsenal Park that's currently blocked off.
That's Reno Boulevard.
Reno.
Extension. Yep.
Yeah. Are there any conversations about making that more permanent? And if so, is this the proper body to talk about converting that into park space?
Well, it is park space, but it's not owned by the town. It's owned by the DCR.
Oh, I see.
DCR controls that parcel. So there's a fence along the road on the west side. It's where the extent of Arsenal Park is.
Yeah.
It's right down the bottom of the hill. So that's Arsenal. That's all by the DCR, and they are in the process of redoing that. It's closed, I think, because they're redoing the path.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
That's not our property. I wish it was, but it's not. I wish it was closed altogether.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks.
All right,
Good to see everyone.
Okay, Jacob. Any other questions? So I guess we can adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, okay. Second?
Second,
Second.
Okay, we have to do a voice call again. Charles, Jamie,
Hi.
Patrick,
Hi.
Maria,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
and Leo, aye. So thank you all, and we can all see you all, and maybe between now and our next meeting, we might have our new members, as long as if the DPW subcommittee start to open up again.
Great.
We have 2 more people coming,
great.
Awesome.
People coming for what?
members. Will we have a full,
Commission.
am I miscounting? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have members, maybe 1 to get to 7.
Okay.
1 to get to 7, I'm sorry, 1 to get to 7.
Okay, you had me confused at 2.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm thinking because Charlie, Patrick, and I are also in the mix to get reappointed.
Okay.
All right, thank you all. Have a nice night.
thank you all.
All right.
Good to see your faces.